Hi, everybody. Okay, so I'm a music education major, and so the article that I read was about music education, in content area literacy in music education, and it was a really interesting read. Honestly, I feel like I learned a lot from it. Definitely got some ideas from it that I'm going to utilize in my classroom. The biggest thing that it talks about with music education is doing before, during, and after reading. And I'll explain what that means because that's what the author Brian Widener uses as the content area literacy for music education. So something that I think is important to point out, and a good point that the author makes, is that music education is probably the weakest area of the school when it comes to content area literacy. And I think that's mostly because music teachers usually just don't know how to incorporate, reading education into music, like reading that doesn't involve reading notes. Um, but it is really important, and there are lots of studies that show that students that can read better and that are better at math and are better at those outside areas are better at music, and the opposite is also true. Um, so anyway, the before, during, and after reading. So before starting a new piece of music with an ensemble, in this article he uses a band as an example. I'm studying to be a choir teacher, but it's still applicable. He talks about how if you have like a set of music that you're going to give to your students, a good way to do the before reading is to make them do a KWL chart, to have them start it and use that throughout the process. So you before you even look at the piece of music, you can tell them like what piece of music you're going to be studying, and you can ask them to write down what they know about the piece specifically, about pieces that belong to the same genre, and about the composer. And the answers can range from students that know surprisingly a lot to students that write down that they literally know nothing about any of the questions that you've asked. And then from from that before reading, you lead that into your during reading. And what you do here is you can make a recording of your group playing the piece, like sight reading through it. So obviously it's not going to be amazing, but it'll be enough for them to get an idea. And then you can play it back for them. And you can, the teacher can guide a process of thinking aloud as students, about the music. So you can ask your students to ask strategic guiding questions. Things like, what music responsibilities are present in this section and who plays them? So you're asking your students to come up with questions like that, that then they or other students in the class can answer. So I thought that that was a really good technique because that's letting them think about it as more than just notes on the page, but as like a cohesive thing, something that matters in more than just their specific part of the music. Another thing that it talks about doing is giving students assignments, things like, as the teacher, uploading different versions of the piece to like their Canvas page or whatever source your school uses, and having them go through and listen to the different recordings, and on a score of the piece which you provide, analyzing the differences between the performances. So in this one, he just used three different recordings as examples. One of them was their own recording, and then one was like a professional group, and then another one was the same piece being performed but by a different group. So like if it's written for an orchestra, finding a performance of the same piece that's done by a band or that type of stuff, and giving them that opportunity to think critically about the music in terms to how it relates to their performance. And then have them analyze the score, and also you can have questions, like a questionnaire sheet that they need to fill out as part of the homework. And then after, and there are a lot of other really great stuff in here. Like I said, I really liked this article. The after reading, it says that like a week before the concert, like before you perform this piece, they call it question the author. And so for music, the way that this applies is they're questioning the composer. So why did he do this certain thing? So for this example, they used a set of folk songs that are arranged for band by Vaughan Williams. And so one of the question examples that he gave is, one student wonders why Vaughan Williams selected these specific folk songs for each of its movements. Another points out that American students would not know the related themes in the lyrics because they do not know the original folk songs. And then you can use the questions that the students ask to guide a discussion in the class, which I think is a really great thing to do. And then after the concert, you can pull out that KWL form again. Oh, and I'm sorry, I missed that in the during reading. In the during reading, you're supposed to fill out the want to know part, and that's where you guide them to questions like about information that will be crucial to the piece that they don't know yet. And then after the concert, you pull the KWL chart back out and you ask them to fill out everything that they now do know about the piece, about the genre that the piece comes from, about the composer, about the time period that the piece was written in, all of that type of stuff. And the students walk away not only understanding the piece better, but with information about broader subjects such as genre. You know, they're going to understand more like the British folk song genre and the time period in which Vaughan Williams wrote, using the example from the article. I really just, I thought it was a great teaching technique. It's something that I want to implement in my classroom someday, and it will be beneficial to the students. It's making them do more than just read the music. They're learning about deeper subjects and having to do reading and comprehensive thinking on their own, and also it's teaching them to help guide discussions with their peers. So that was my article. Bye.